Okay, good morning. This is the hips session. This is the session that I'm responding to because so many people have sent me emails, messages, questions, and it all comes down to the hips. You cannot talk about the hips without talking about the head. So you guys, first and foremost, the position of your head when you're running, when you're riding, when you're sitting at your computer, when you're driving, the position of your head will dictate or plays a massive role in how your hips sit. So one of the first things that we evaluate when we look at how somebody stands is how they hold their head. And gravity and ground and current lifestyle is going to dictate that your head spends a little bit more time here. So the head position, first and foremost, is massively important. So I'm going to show you a couple things about head position, but then we're going to work down into the hips. There's no doubt that if you're training right now, your hip flexors are probably tight. Tight doesn't mean they are strong. It doesn't mean they are have integrity. It means they are simply holding on because the ask on them is greater than can be provided by the back side of the body. So the anterior part of the body, I will refer to that as the front line of the body, because the way I look at the body is with fascial lines, connective tissue, and how muscles interact on the front side of the body, and how tightness on the front side of the body impairs function on the back side of the body, which I would refer to as the back line. And then we also have tightness in the lateral line of the body. Everything that kind of interacts with the way the body moves in what we might refer to in the frontal plane. Okay, so the head position, we're going to talk about that right quick, and then we're going to talk about the hips. We're going to open up the hips and hopefully give you more freedom in your training and racing and movement. And specifically, most of these questions come from running, because we all want to run with more freedom. So super important. So let's spend 3 minutes on the back line of the body, just checking in. I traveled this weekend, but I also had a very big training week last week up in British Columbia. Went to the T100 on Saturday, and then flew home yesterday. So a little bit of everything. A little bit of stress with family. I love my family, but every family has challenges, and emotional and mental stress can also play a role in how our physical self presents itself. So a little bit of foam rolling right below the calf muscles help hydrate that tissue. That tissue is usually the most vulnerable in the body, because it's so far from the circulatory system. So lower leg, we want to create a little bit of heat there with the foam roller, and we also want to be able to make sure that the function down there is exactly what we need it to be. All right, up onto the foam roller with the hips, and you want to be able to find those sits bones. Sits bones, also known as ischial tuberosity, right? It's where the hamstrings all attach. It's where when you get stuck in anterior on the pelvis, that junction becomes very stressed out. So we're just going to hit it right now, nice and easy, with a little bit of pressure from our own body weight using the foam roller. And a little bit of pressure not only squishes the tissue, but it also, when we remove the tension, the mechanical pressure, that's going to open up. It's going to have a response to that. So when we're squishing it, that's one response. But when we remove the squishing, I don't know why I'm using that word so much today. It definitely will have a reaction and a response afterwards. So just nice, easy, gentle pressure from the weight of your own body on the ischial tuberosities. And now we're on the lateral aspect of that same part of the pelvis, the bottom part of the left ilium, and just gently rolling through the glute. And the glute, for me, I'm not training that hard, so it's a little dull, achy, but it's not pinny. And that means I haven't really exceeded what my glutes are capable of and to be expected. So if you're training hard, or if you raced this weekend, or even if you were on a much longer flight than I was, that could be a little bit pinny. So pay attention to that. And it just means it needs a little more time to recover. You might want to focus on hydration, but you should have an action response to what your body is telling you. All these things happen in part of the process of being a healthy, high-performance human. So if you're not a high-performance athlete, but you consider yourself a pretty good athlete that wears a lot of hats in the family, maybe you are a high-performance mom, maybe you're a high-performance dad or a CEO, or you run your own business, those things are all part of that same category. All right, foam roller right below the shoulder blades. Let's make sure that upper back is moving. We're just going to get a couple of nice movements. Support the head. Easy peasy, easy, easy. And then let the elbows. I know when I go into this position, I have tightness on the front side. If I'm very comfortable and I just kind of self-select this, it's because I'm not tight on the front side. So the front line also includes the pecs. And it's an area that spending time biking or working on the computer can really inhibit the function of the back. That's an ongoing theme. Is tightness on the front. What's the response on the back of the body? Okay, let's go right into some movement to put the head in the right position. And my favorite way to do that is using prone, face down, decompression breathing, because the diaphragm plays a huge role in how the hips lay, right? So the diaphragm and the head and the transverse abdominals are all part of that equation. Oh God, here comes Jackson. Do you ever notice that as soon as you lay down, the dog comes over? Okay, lay down, Jax. He hasn't had his yayas yet. Lay down all the way. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn the other way because he's going to stay there. All right, prone decompression breathing. We're going to set an anchor down low. So put your knees together, your toes together, and your heels apart. That puts the hips into internal rotation. The anchor is very important. So the knees should be touching, the big toes should be touching, and the heels are apart. Fingertips to the ground, palm away from the ground. Same thing on the other side. As soon as you go into that position, you're going to look straight down and have your nose be about 1.5 inches off the ground. So right here, pull the chin into the throat, and then pull your belly button away from the floor. Right there. Pull the belly button away from the floor. Keep the knees strong and touching. And we're just gently activating and controlling the weight of the head. And if you've ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire, the human head supposedly weighs anywhere from 8 to 13 pounds. I have a small head, so I'm probably like 8.5. So right here, holding the weight of the head, just perfect intensity to set the head in the right position. And just normal breathing right now. Pull the belly button away from the spine. See if you can walk your fingers a little bit longer. And just hold that. And relax. All right, on the next one, I'm going to cue you to drop your sacrum. Your sacrum is right here. It's your tailbone, right? So your tailbone, I want you to, it may not move much, but I want you to articulate and pull your sacrum away from the back of your head from the same position. Then I'm going to cue you to breathe. And when you breathe, I want you to expand your rib cage 360 degrees. When you're in prone decompression breathing, you're really focusing on breathing into your back, okay? So right here, knees together, toes together, heels apart, fingertips onto the ground, pull the palms away from the ground, wrists and elbows off the ground, looking straight down, pull the belly button away from the floor. Drop your sacrum. And now we have 5 big breaths. Ready? Here we go. And good. Okay, guys, so I know we do Mobility Monday, but think about it. If you could start every day with an activation, this is Mobility Monday, we focus on movement. But let's be real, without strength, mobility will be less. Mobility and functional mobility comes from strength. Strength like this, strength when we use load, but being able to get into position. So we're going to call the head position stack it. So let's get into 90-90 hips. Drop your sacrum, lift your pubic bone so that when you drop your sacrum, your pubic bone lifts. You might feel a little tension in that quad. Stack your head and then drive forward just a little bit with the right knee. Right knee is up. Hold that head in a really good position. Drop your sacrum again. Nice big breath. And then come back out of it. My sacrum right now, my pelvis is not stuck in anterior. If you have tight hip flexors, tight on the front line of the body, probably immediately when you go into this position and I cue, stack the head, drop the sacrum, you immediately get tightness in your quad. That's your first sign that you're a little bit stuck in anterior. So right here, pull the chin back, drop the sacrum, lift the pubic bone. Now you're in a neutral pelvis, at least on the right side. And then we're just going to take that into a forward shift just for a little bit. Drop that sacrum again. Keep the head stacked. And good. All right, now we're going to add the thoracic and a little bit of rotation. So let's go back to right knee in front of left. You can tuck your toe in the back, but you don't have to. All right, so from right here, first move is stack the head, drop the sacrum, lift the pubic bone. Good. And we're just going to, from right here, we're going to expand and breathe using the diaphragm, which is the bottom dome-like muscle under the rib cage. And we got 5 big breaths. Expand the rib cage. See if you can shift forward just a little bit. And good. Every time you breathe and every time you expand the rib cage, you should feel a little bit of lift, a little bit of tensegrity in the spine, and you start to decompress the spine. And because the head is in a good position, it allows it to get taller through the thoracic spine, through the lumbar spine, and definitely starts to add this anchoring into the hips where we can hopefully get some more motion. All right, drop the sacrum, lift the chest, tuck the chin, little bit of forward shift, 5 big breaths, expand the rib cage. You can add your measuring sticks if you want. And 5. And good. All right, next movement. Let's bring it up to standing. We're going to shift the hips from side to side, loading into the lateral line, into that TFL muscle that just comes right off the lateral part of the hip, and then into the left side. So your little teapot, your hips go to the right, your shoulder goes down into the left. So let the shoulders move with the hips, side to side. And we start, when we can get TFL having some length, it means the IT band can start to trust. And who anchors into the IT band? TFL and glutes. So TFL, if he's tight, he's going to inhibit the function of the glutes. God, I'm really on a roll chatting it up today. Okay, side to side. We want this TFL to move. If you feel really stuck there, you might take a moment to foam roll that TFL. It's behind the hip bone. In front of the hip bone, iliacus. Behind the hip bone, TFL. All right? So right here, let's go into a wide stance, heels outside of toes, so we anchor the stance. And we're just going to kind of load to the left and turn back to the right. Now we're starting to address the muscles that attach to the middle of the pelvis, the adductors. So right here, nice and easy. Mobility becomes way more important and way more interesting as performance starts to become measured. So as the racing becomes more important and recovering from racing becomes important. So many of the professional athletes that I work with, they work with me not so they can become faster, more athletic. They work with me so that we load their tissue in the right, appropriate way so their muscles and their body recovers better. So it's not just my job is to make them faster and stronger. My job is to help them become better athletes globally. All right, so right here, here's a stacked head. Here's a stacked body. Here's a forward shift. Don't just jut your chin out, your whole chest goes. We immediately load the right side. The right leg is in front. We're going to take the back hip. So we're in that nice forward shift. Take that back hip and rotate it to the midline. As the hip stops, so does the shoulder. So the body is functioning like a box. And the box protects the spine. The spine is everything. It's where all the signaling comes from the brain to the lower part of the body. So if there's a forward head position, that signal is not clear or it's not as good as it could be if the body was functioning and protecting the integrity and the decompression of the spine, right? So nice and tall, shoulders in line with the hips, little forward shift. If you want to, you can hinge back just a little bit, and we're going to bring that right hip to the midline. As soon as the right hip stops, the right shoulder stops. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more, and 8. We're going to do each one of those one more time. So the integrity of the upper body between the hips and the shoulders, little forward shift, stack the head, and we just rotate into the right hip. Left hip coming across, but all this rotation is coming from the right hip. And the right hip is allowing internal rotation. Good. This is what's going to get you more glute, guys. This is the power in the landing phase of the running, which allows you to propel from a really stable surface or a stable environment, and allows you to put pressure into the pedals as well, especially when you're standing and sprinting. Right? Right side, 2, 3, 4. I'm not this, woo-woo kind of strength coach, I'm kind of woo-woo, I guess, because the more relaxed your body is, the more it will be allowed, the more the brain senses safety, senses freedom, and then you get to run fast. I am so down with running fast. All right, support yourself on a chair, maybe on the wall. We're just going to go some gentle leg swings. Don't go so far that you feel any tension in your low back. Just feel the weight of the leg falling out of the hip joint. If you can raise up on a step or something, it's always a little bit better. I don't have any shoes on, but I can just kind of scrape the ground with the foot. Same thing, other side. Feel the weight of the leg falling long out of the joint. And this was where you probably get the cue to find space in the joint. You want length. You want this to be long. You want this to be tall, right? We need space to be able to get that freedom. All right, let's go one more time, wide stance. We're going to work a hinge and some upper body rotation. So a little bit of hinge into the back. Push to the weight back on the heels, but keep the toes on the ground. 3, 4, 5, get a little tugging on those ischial tuberosities. 6, 7, and 8. And then we're just going to rotate a little bit with that. So hip to the back, and we're going to rotate right hip to the midline and add the weight of the right arm. And then left side. So that the reach The reach of the arm corresponds with the right hip coming to the midline and the hinge. So the only reason the reach happens is because the hip is coming to the midline, 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 midline. And this is allowing and encouraging what we call hip decoupling, so that when you run, your hips move like this rather than this. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I got to run to work. So much to do this week. Remember, Monday mobility is only to get you started. Please don't hesitate to do all of these exercises and movements tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Have an amazing week. Peace. Keep the work up. Stay hydrated.